You do so good.
Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest. Returning guest, his name is James Day, D-A-Y. This will be our fifth episode we've recorded, and I follow his research and writing on Medium. So I get emails pretty often when these things show up, and I've been following him. He's on shows that I listen to. He was on The Lone Gunman with Triple B, and I've had them on my show. They do great work on JFK. But something came to my attention, this interesting cleaning truck. And I read all this kind of material today. I think he's done 5 or 6 articles associated with that. But like I said, this will be our fifth show. We've also done one on his book. He's not just like an article writer. He writes books. We did one called The Fraud of Turin about his book. We also did what I titled it, JFKKK, the Ku Klux Klan and the Killing of JFK. We also covered his documentary about David Ferrie. So that one was titled David Ferrie, the New Documentary. And then originally what came to my attention was his authorship of the book, The Mad Bishops, The Hunt for Earl Anglin James and His Assassin Brethren. So you can check that out in my catalog. But today I've titled this one, I kind of retitled it after I read all his articles, How to Clean Up After the JFK Assassination. It's really about this picture and this strange kind of car that's right there at the very end. It's really in the side of Dealey Plaza. I guess it would be East Dealey Plazas if my spatial memory suits me or serves me correct. But James can talk more about that. So James Day, welcome back to the show.
Always a pleasure to be on your show, and think you're doing great work with all your other guests, man. I love listening to whoever you bring on.
Great, thanks so much. For people who haven't heard your show or followed you on Medium, I'll put a link to your Medium page and to the books, and maybe you can just talk about your interest in JFK, and then kind of your research into this mysterious cleaning ban that was there on November 22nd, 1963.
Oh, absolutely. I came into all of this through David Ferrie. I'm originally from Cleveland, and I discovered that I went to the same high school and the same undergraduate college as David Ferrie. He went on to the seminary in Cleveland. I took a class at the seminary. I actually toured it. I was like, is this a possible future for me too? Without even knowing who this man was. He comes from a line of civil servants in Cleveland, from Cleveland Fire and Cleveland Police, and so do I. So there was just a lot of the coincidences. And, although I knew Ferrie from Joe Pesci's portrayal in Oliver Stone's film, but I just got to say, and tell me if you agree with this, William, it is just a matter of time before somebody figures out that David Ferrie is like perfect for a streaming series. You know what I'm saying?
He's so interesting. Like, you could literally do a 16-part series. It's really true. He wore every hat. He was like a defrocked Catholic church who became Orthodox church, gun runner, mafia connected, CIA agent,
supposedly
Cap, knew Oswald,
Pilot,
knows Garrison, right? Knows Bannister. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was my kind of foray. I was like, wow, this is just so close to home for me. And I always just kind of took the official story that we were told about Oswald as being the guy responsible. And boy, I guess I didn't realize how deep it would go. I also we talked about this on a previous show about the Shroud of Turin. And so having done that already prepped me for the JFK sort of tsunami of information that's there. Kind of being able to sift through what's a lot of speculation versus actual concrete evidence, because there isn't a lot for that Shroud of Turin. And there certainly is a lot of speculation about Kennedy. And while we have thousands and tens of thousands of pages, very little is concrete. We know exactly what happened because there's just so many what ifs and unknowns about that day. Even photographic evidence has been redone, etc. And that's actually what we're looking at here. It's this. It's just James Alkin's photograph as the president heads down Houston, just what he's got, maybe a couple of minutes at most of consciousness left in his life. It's so heartbreaking. But now I want to credit a JFK researcher, Paul Cummings, who followed my work and listened to some of our talks in the past and reached out and said, I would love some help. Would you be willing to go into do a series of articles with me on the history of that clean towel truck that's right there in the Alkin 6 photo? It's called Clean Towel and Linen Service. So it's not actually a laundry truck per se. It's more of like a linen supply and like those towel rolls that used to be dominant in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's what they do. So he was always intrigued by that and how little information there was about this random, seemingly innocuous truck parked at the intersection where the president was killed. I don't think he knew how much we were going to get into how deeply connected the people behind that truck are to names that have been put out in the assassination as suspects. So even just today is the most recent, I would call it a spin-off article about this truck on following money by the people behind this truck and the state of Israel. So a lot of mob people show up, a lot of Los Angeles people show up. Anyway, it was quite an amazing story, and we're still kind of unraveling some things. But yeah, that's sort of like an overview, William.
That picture is taken in Dealey Plaza when they're traveling north up Houston, right? So they come down Mount. They're going to take a left onto Elm into the kind of the kill zone or the triangulated fire or quadratic fire or something. I don't know how many shooting teams there were. So they're going north on Dealey Plaza to take a left in front of
Houston.
Right.
Yeah. And it's parked right there at Houston and Elm. So that's the Deltex building. Across the street is the depository to the left of the frame.
Right. That's so that dark building in the background is the Deltex building.
That's Deltex. Okay. Now, up until early 63, that's where the Texas School Book Depository Company was. Wow. Okay. So that's an interesting thing. But for our purposes, it's a very it's a lot of manufacturer companies like dressmakers, belts, men's clothing.
Isn't Zapruder in there? Wasn't he in there? I think he had his office in there.
Zapruder is on the third floor.
Yeah, it's like a haberdasher or whatever.
All right. Yeah, exactly. And there was an individual who was arrested out in the Deltex building, a Jim Braden, a kind of a mob associate, who was on parole at the time. He was a Southern California guy, came out to ostensibly do some oil business in Dallas, and happened to be wandering into the site of the assassination.
Right, like they're all there. And Miltier's in here too.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, Miltier's there too. Yeah. And so, yep.
He's the guy, if you're watching this on Rockfin, Rumble, or X, right above, there's Jackie. Kennedy, and then his Jackie. And then if you go straight above Jackie, there's a dude in a big bowler hat. And I think that's Miltier right in front of him, right?
Right next. Yeah.
He's kind of got his arms crossed. And that'd be like a standard Miltier pose. Like he's really that type of jerk, like very aggressive.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. The guy they arrested at Deltex, this Braden fellow, who they let go, moments later, really. Travesty. Anyway, one of the interesting things I'll just mention now, one of the interesting connections between, I don't think there's an accident that truck is parked right next to Deltex, because the owner of that truck is from Los Angeles. It's a Los Angeles owner.
So strange, yeah.
Whose offices is all in his attorney is all in Beverly Hills. You can draw this crazy line from Jim Braden's office on La Cienega, William, in Beverly Hills, to the City National Bank of Beverly Hills office where the attorney for this towel truck was. And I will say this, where Jim Braden's office was in Beverly Hills, two people of note. That was also the Southern California office for Melvin Belli, who ended up representing Jack Ruby in the trial. And Chauncey Holt had an office there. If you recall that guy, a kind of purportedly one of the old guy of the Three Tramps. I'm not going to say that was him, but he thinks, he says he was. But anyway.
For people who don't know, Melvin Belli to come out and represent Ruby is very strange. He is a civil attorney. He really did not specialize. Usually, like you parse out when you become a lawyer, you become a specialist in something. But the two biggest divisions are criminal and civil. So he hopped over to become this kind of criminal defense attorney. It makes no sense unless Belli was a lot like Sinatra. He had far deeper mob ties, I think, than they said. He was just friends with stuff, but that's what they said about Sinatra too. So anyway.
I am so tired of this on the surface, drawing conclusions to, oh, it's just this, no, there's way more than that.
Yeah, there's way more to that story. Belli just is another story in himself. They should have done an 8-part episode on Belli himself because he's involved in so many important cases.
Oh yeah. Well,
this knew everybody and was very well connected.
Yeah. Ruby was just another. Yeah, that was just one client. He had more of a career, than just the trial of Jack Ruby. So,
what was the case that he was also involved in? The killing case in Northern California.
Yeah,
was it?
I don't know if it was Zodiac necessarily.
Zodiac, yeah, this is the Zodiac. Okay. They literally were calling him and doing stuff. Yeah, so.
Yeah, William J. Bryan was part of his
Joseph Bryan
too. Yeah, and
I just confirmed that William Joseph Bryan was at the Shaw trial. He literally was there and knew Garrison is talking to Garrison. Can you believe that? William Joseph Bryan.
No.
Yeah, right.
Yes and no.
Right.
That's interesting. I didn't know that though.
Yeah, it's in his book. He had a book called The Chosen Ones with 2 intros from Belli and Bailey, published in 1971. And he's saying, he's talking and chatting, I'm analyzing Belli's jurors. He knew all that. That was his specialty. He was a psychiatrist, doctor, hypnotist, the whole bit. And he's telling stories and joking with Garrison and all this other stuff. He's there in the mix. Crazy. No, totally crazy. And he's rumored to be the guy who trained Ferry.
I was just about to tell you, and this is unconfirmed, and this is bugging me because I want to figure this out. There is that purported identification between Bryan and David Ferry. I have never been able to find the source to that claim, but it is out there somewhere. It's out.
I haven't found it either. Here's the image. I'll read it to you. This is from Bryan's book. This is from The Chosen Ones. Roger Jordan, this is like an autobiography. He's talking about stuff. Roger Jordan, a well-known New Orleans attorney, had managed to get me a seat in the crowded courtroom of the conspiracy trial of Clay Shaw, Knight of Malta. Mr. Shaw, according to prosecutor Jim Garrison, had been a party to a conspiracy to assassinate President Kennedy. I met both Garrison and Irving F. Diamond, Shaw's lawyer. Garrison asked how the jury looked to me, and Shaw introduced his lawyer as the man charged with the responsibility to keep me alive. He's literally interacting with Shaw and Garrison.
Wow.
He continued. Let's see. Well, Dr. Bryan, what do you think of the jury? I was confounded. How did this man know my name? I shouldn't have been surprised. He's probably the finest courtroom reporter in the nation. His name is Quigg, and he is affectionately called Doc by his friends at the UPI, where he's a senior editor. I was actually on a short vacation attending the Mardi Gras as a guest of Dr. and Miss Emile Bertucci, Jim Garrison's personal physician.
Okay.
I only spent one morning at the trial, but at least that morning the jury yawned through most of the proceedings. The first difficulty which presented itself to me in evaluating the Clay Shaw jury was that the jury numbering system in Louisiana is exactly opposite to that of California. And he had everything down. He tags them all. Some of the people are black.
Truck driver.
Really crazy, huh? That's it.
I did not know this, Support. It was purportedly a consultant on the Manchurian Candidate. You were talking hypnosis. I mean,
multiple people said that he was a consultant. Multiple citations. So there's like Melanson said that. Fenton Bresler said that. It was never in the anywhere that I could find in the Manchurian Candidate film, literature, anything. So anything to do with the production of it,
right.
It's not mentioned. But his
Right.
friendship with Sinatra isn't questionable. Like that's known. Like he's buddies with Sinatra.
Wow.
So, I mean, just crazy connections in here.
Yeah.
And then these mob connections are just really something else. Like,
no, it's
to this whole like this. I mean, here's the thing. I'm gonna play. This is what I think probably. Like at first glance, tell me what you think about this. But I think there's a reason that cleaner car is there, and I think this explains it. And this actually kind of ties into the Kirk assassination. This video I'm going to show you right now. But this is from JFK, the film. And let me see if I can get it. This is like the Zapruder section of the film.
It's the best part of it.
If I can bring this up, which I'm really not doing a very good job with.
What really
Watch
happened
this.
that day? Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we? We have the epileptic seizure around 12:15 p.m. distracting the police.
It's right there. I think it's like on the corner of Houston and Elm, right?
The epileptic
So that's like the epileptic seizure.
later vanished. Never checking into the hospital. The A-team gets on the 6th floor of the depository. Now, they were refurbishing the floors in the depository that week, which allowed unknown workmen in and out of the building. They moved quickly into position, just minutes before the shooting.
So the A-team goes into position. So the guy's distracted. That car's a perfect cover for somebody.
Exactly.
Like if somebody was wearing cleaning materials, 2 or 3 guys, nobody would think any different. They're just delivery men, just, tooling around for another pickup, right? It's a perfect cover. It's not like a black van or something with shady things.
No.
And it's a perfect way you could carry something in the back too. It's the perfect getaway car or ingress and egress kind of car.
Talking to the other two teams has the best overall.
It's talking to the other two teams. And they always say the other team was in the Daltex building or one of them, right? Grassy Knoll, Depository Daltex.
One rifleman and one spotter with the headset and access to the building moves into the low floor of the Daltex.
So that says Acme.
Acme, kind of standard issue, generic.
Right, but what if it said if it said clean towel and linen service go?
Yeah,
it would make perfect sense. I'll play this again without interrupting, so I apologize to the listener. Here we go.
So what really happened that day? Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we? We have the epileptic seizure around 12:15 p.m. distracting the police, making it easier for the shooters to move into their places. The epileptic later vanished, never checking into the hospital. The A-team gets on the 6th floor of the depository. Now, they were refurbishing the floors in the depository that week, which allowed unknown workmen in and out of the building. They moved quickly into position, just minutes before the shooting. The second spotter on the radio talking to the other two teams has the best overall view. The God spot. B team, one rifleman and one spotter with the headset and access to the building moves into the low floor of the Daltex building. The third team, the C team, moves in behind the picket fence above the grassy knoll where the shooter and the spotter are first seen by the late Lee Bowers in the watchtower of the rail yard. They have the best position of all. Kennedy is close and on a flat, low trajectory. Part of this team is a coordinator who's flashed security credentials at several people chasing them out of the parking lot area. Probably 2 to 3 more men are down in the crowd on Elm. 10 to 12 men, 3 teams, 3 shooters. The triangulation of fire Clay Shaw and David Barry discussed 2 months before. They've walked the plaza. They know every inch. They've calibrated their sights. They practice on moving targets. They're ready. Kennedy's motorcade makes a turn from Maine onto Houston. It's gonna be a turkey shoot.
So the Maine onto Houston is that picture, right? So that's with the clean towel and linen service truck in the back.
They don't shoot him coming up Houston, which is the easiest shot for a single shooter in the book depository. They wait. They wait till he gets to the killing zone between 3 rifles. Kennedy makes a final turn from Houston on the Elm, slowing down to some 11 miles an hour. The shooters across Dealey Plaza tighten, taking their aim, waiting for the radio to say, green, green, or aboard, aboard.
There's Zapruder right there.
The first shot rings out, sounding like a backfire. It misses the car completely. Frame 161, Kennedy.
That's it. I mean, I think that's it. Like, this is like they're moving into position. Like, the interesting thing would wonder if there's other pictures of the truck not there. So, like, pictures from an hour earlier. Like, how long has the truck been there? And when did it leave? Like, I don't know how you could ever find that out. But the fact that you caught it there, and these guys are all like, mobbed up in the same building with Bella, like, incredible stuff. Man.
And that truck is it's parked. I mean, there's nobody in it. It's not like they're waiting for the traffic or the police to open up the road. There's also a good argument that once everything did open up, which is, by the way, it's a crime scene. Why are you like letting people go down Elm like right after the shooting? Regardless, there's a good evidence from the officer behind the Texas School Book Depository who says, I let the truck through on Houston. So what else could that have been than this, you know?
Makes sense. It's like involved in the crime, man. Crazy. So all those guys, so there's like Manuel Tourette's is there. And like your articles basically show that there's a lot of mob stuff connected to these cleaning companies back then, right? I mean,
well, yeah, we know from as far back as Mo Dalitz, you know, of the Purple Gang from Detroit, and just one of the big guys that he built his career off Linen Supply. It's a common front, and if you know Stephen Fox's book Blood and Power on the Mafia, laundries is always your kind of classic front for nefarious activity. Again, this isn't necessarily a laundry facility, but you know, I mean, it fits that milieu. Now, we did contact. Well, this is really Paul, my co-writer on these articles. Paul found a driver who drove Clean Towel in 67, 68. Which is really cool. He was a young guy, like 19, 20 at the time, still with us. But he mentioned that there was only one site down in Dealey Plaza that the Clean Towel had. This is in 67, 68, which was at that the Gothic building, that kind of weird, like shaped. It's behind, it's this way down Houston. It's the back end of Dealey Plaza over by Commerce. But anyway, it's that kind of the Gothic building. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, I think I know. It wasn't like the Masonic Center in there. Maybe off of Houston or Maine.
There it is.
That building, yeah. That's it.
So, and then if you just turn around and kind of look at Dealey Plaza from there, it's that's Commerce right there, and there's TSBD. So. That account was with that building. So, that's also an interesting location, why was that truck parked down there? There's a lot of questions that we just don't know.
It would be parked right there, right? So it would have been, that was where the truck was parked in your picture, right?
No.
Is this Fire Command Center, or is it further down?
Keep going to the next intersection. See where it says 501 Elm Place to your right? Right there. Right where that sedan is, right there.
Wow.
Right there. That's Deltex. That's where Braden was arrested. Yeah.
Right. So that's Deltec. That's the School Book Depository.
Right. So it's I guess a block away.
I forgot that if this was like the Masonic Center. No, that's the Circus building.
Well,
it's farther down, because that's where the three tramps walked through too, if I remember.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. Yeah, man, it's wild. It's a legitimate business, but what's interesting is that it's based out of Fort Worth. So, Dallas was not exactly the place where it did most of its business. But what really kind of spurred this idea of was there something else going on was that in the articles of incorporation, it lists three or four Fort Worth individuals, but it makes those articles of incorporation, which we have, makes no mention that the actual owner is from Los Angeles. So, and there was one of these incorporators wrote very anti-Kennedy as a Catholic candidate, or like letters to the editor around during the 1960 campaign. So we have some kind of evidence that at least one of these individuals who backed the truck business had some anti-Kennedy sentiment. So were those guys just kind of like a screen for who was really running the show out of Los Angeles?
It's murky, right? So it's like when you see kind of murkiness, you have to kind of scratch your head, especially in kind of corporate documents, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's so hard. It's so hard to read between the lines because you want to draw conclusions about it. And of course, everything's nefarious, right? Because we're all conspirators. Right. So
the thing is that the timing is incredible. Like, do you have this thing right here? This is like the biggest hit in American history, probably, or something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And and the fact that so many names. So people might be saying, "Well, what names are you talking about?" Well, let me put it this way. I'm telling you, every time now, once I started figuring out the behind the scenes of this truck, Jack Ruby kept showing up at every turn, whether he himself showing up or you can draw links to people who knew him. And Ruby was making a bunch of these calls supposedly to his mobbed up friends from Chicago in the weeks leading up to the assassination. That is that's not undeniable. We have those records. For example, one of these guys that he was calling was Al P. Gruber. Al P. Gruber attended the same synagogue as this Tourette's and the lawyer of the Clean Towel. Now, you might say, well, so what? Well, okay. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. This isn't anything about Judaism. Just as talking about David Ferry is not anything anti-Catholic. Okay. But the point is that they were Zionists, and we have the paper trail. We have the paper trail that links Zionism and gun running for Haganah to the people behind that truck. So and they were high up in their synagogue.
They were like they were at like the very top, like of the kind of pro-Israel stuff too, right?
Absolutely.
And they had that one pastor too who was really a non-Jewish ardent Zionist. Like, hey, this is fulfillment of Bible prophecy and stuff, right?
Exactly. So, and speaking of Miltier, that's to me, I haven't been able to go beyond this. But speaking of the fact that Miltier is in the same shot as the Clean Towel, what do I mean by that? Well, Miltier, per Willie Somerset, who was the informant who traveled with Miltier, and it's because of Willie Somerset that we have the recording of Miltier saying there's going to be a shot from the office building with a high-powered rifle, and they're going to pick up a guy shortly thereafter. Thanks to Willie Somerset, the informant. Right. We have that. Well, thanks to Willie Somerset too, Miltier named 3 names that were involved with the kill in some way. Not necessarily assassins, but with the kill in Dealey Plaza. And one of these guys was a reverend named Theodore Jackman. Theodore Jackman was also a Zionist, a Christian Zionist who was supporting, the push for the state of Israel. He taught at the Life Bible College in California, which is where Wesley Swift came of age, who was a rabid right winger. That there's the pure blood of the serpent seed, and
right, that doctrine, right? Yeah,
So it was you know, so the Angelus Temple was the church, and then the Life Bible College was the school. William not Clean Towel, but Manuel Tourette's L.A. Linen supply business called Crescent Towel serviced Life Bible College. I just think that that's crazy, especially at a time when Theodore Jackman, who became this Christian Zionist, who was placed by Willie Somerset as being involved in the assassination. I just don't understand. And he was a Young Americans for Freedom speaker as well, by the way. We were talking about that earlier.
Right. That's Willoughby and all these really hardcore right wingers and stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if we can tie that in real quick, I'll just mention, where does Willoughby come in? Do you want me to just tell you? Do we do any background? Okay. There's very little on who actually worked at this facility at that time. We know who the manager was. We know obviously who the owners were. These people we've already mentioned. But the actual boots on the ground, the driver, for instance, we don't know who the driver was. We can make a good guess on who that may have been. Paul thinks he has it. But my point is that there's very few individuals, almost none. But there is one. There is one name that we found through newspapers and things like that, who it's kind of like almost like a Cuban name or a Mexican name. So kind of obscure, but he was renting a house across the street from Meacham Field in Fort Worth to a guy called Scott Daly. So an employee, so I don't lose people, an employee of Clean Towel was renting a room or house from the owner of that property, a guy called Scott Daly. In the war, Scott Daly was under General Willoughby in the Pacific. Again, at some point you have to say, when are these going to stop being coincidences?
Right, and Willoughby's a big player. He's under MacArthur, right? So he's, I think, the head of intelligence in the Pacific Theater. Willoughby is not he's not a low level player. He was a big time functionary. I think there are pictures of him when the things were signed or something.
He was MacArthur's as you're saying, he was MacArthur's intelligence
head, intel.
Head. I think he made horrible intelligence moves. I understand. I think he was a terrible strategist. But he was part of that organization after the war, called the Shikshini Knights, the Order of St. John of Jerusalem. I don't know if we want to go down that realm, but
yeah. I mean, it's just who else is the Shikshini Knights? We've done shows on that, right? Who is he hanging out with?
Yeah, so it's the Order of Malta. People might say, no, it's not. This is not a legitimate organization. It's very similar to those faux churches that Ferry and Jack Martin and those guys were trying to get into. This was
William Joseph Bryan.
And William Joseph Bryan was trying to get into. It still exists, this Order of St. John of Jerusalem. They called it the Shikshini Knights because it was started in Shikshini, Pennsylvania, by a guy called Pitchell, who was a fascist and a promoter of the protocols of the Elders of Zion and the rhetoric of Henry Ford, the original Henry Ford I, who was very anti-Semitic. And so this crazy organization, which saw itself as the actual sovereign Order of St. John of Jerusalem that went back to the Middle Ages, had its own intelligence arm. The Armed Services Committee or something like that. And Willoughby, the same General Willoughby who worked under MacArthur, was head of this committee under this faux knighthood. And he had a bunch of so many of MacArthur's generals, including Philip Corso, who wrote The Day After Roswell. He was a colonel. They were all part of this group. So it's what is really going on? And who's funding these kind of outfits?
Right.
You know?
And there's a lot of people involved. Like one of your other articles is the sacred duty to kill JFK, right? So like,
Yes. Yeah.
you can see like these are a bunch of strange people, man. Like, I mean, admirals, brigadier generals, and who's like over all this. And you're saying Oswald was kind of handled by a lot of those people, right?
Maybe. I don't know, but it certainly makes the case that the far right was way more involved to some degree. And I can say now, maybe not some. My thinking has grown from solely a radical right assassination than it is a kind of partnership between the radical right and Zionists and this Ted Jackman fellow who I spoke earlier, who was this kind of go-between between the Christian Zionists and the right wing. And I think because what's Ruby doing that weekend after before he shoots Oswald? He's kind of losing his mind. But I think he's doing a lot of strange things. He's trying to implicate the right wing before he shoots Oswald. He goes out, he takes a photograph on his Polaroid camera of the billboard that says "Impeach Earl Warren," which was sponsored by the John Birch Society. He's talking about a pogrom against the Jews, and that I'm really worried about my people, and I'm doing this for the sake of my people. He was really thinking there was another Holocaust that was coming. So, it's not something. There's something there because he knows all of so many people that we've talked about that he keeps showing up. And I can even give you more examples of where Ruby is coming from. But I think he's trying to do an insurance policy before that he could use if he needs to, like in his trial or something like that. That he's got this, or that's what he's trying to do.
Do you think that do you think that he was given orders or something to go get Oswald after Oswald was arrested on the 22nd, right? Do you feel like he got some kind of assignment?
Absolutely. I don't think it was out of thin air. I think he was far deeper than we realize.
Like he said, he did it on his own volition. That's just a total lie, probably. To it.
Yeah. Just
here's the video that you have from your website.
Has never come to the surface. The world will never know the true facts of what occurred, my motives. The people that had so much to gain and had such an ulterior motive for putting me in a position I'm in. We'll never let the true facts come above board to the world.
Now, these people are in very high positions, Jack?
Yes.
Are these people in very high positions? Yes. So.
Yes. Yeah. Was he talking too much? Did he talk too much? Because he was quite vocal. And and Earl Warren just had no clue. I mean, when he's given his Warren Commission testimony and he's trying to get Warren to take him to Washington, D.C., I think he wanted to spill everything. And they said, Jack, you have nothing to worry about. You're protected in Dallas. And, or they didn't want to hear what he had to say, possibly,
Yeah. I mean, whatever he did, he took it to his grave because maybe he thought he was going to get out or somebody got paid off or something, but he got the short end of the stick, it seems like.
Well, unless he was so involved that it fell to him. And here classic example is, you remember the Brad Pitt baseball movie Moneyball?
Yes.
Okay. He sends his underling Jonah Hill to learn what it's like to fire guys. And so Jonah Hill has to go and fire some baseball players, okay? And he gets that under his belt. But then he has to fire the big star, David Justice. And Brad Pitt goes, I'll do that. Because it's my job to fire the biggest star, not you, because that would be undermining him. So he goes and does it. And that to me strikes me as what Ruby has. It's like almost like I have to do this now. And I so wanted to get out of this as much as I could. I had to do that. And I think it goes back as far as early 63, at least, when there was the attempt on General Walker that is supposedly, it was only supposedly Oswald who did it after the assassination of JFK. Oswald was never picked up for the supposed assassination against General Walker. But what I found, there was testimony which has been totally overlooked in the House committee, that there was witnesses who saw multiple people running from the General Walker house in Dallas. There was an alley behind General Walker's house, and this woman who's at this house says, "We think there was a guy who ran into the house of a Samuel Gilbert, which is on the street behind Walker, and that he hid in this guy's house." This, according to this lady, who was the daughter of Gilbert's housekeepers, so she knew what she was talking about. This is in 78, though. She says Gilbert's best friend was Jack Ruby. Her mom made dinner for Ruby at this guy's house quite frequently. Gilbert wanted Ruby to move in, and the mom didn't want another person to have to clean for. The testimony goes on to state that this Gilbert was very involved in anti-Castro Cuban movements, that he wanted to get Jeeps for the anti-Castros, and that one of his friends was a guy called David Ferry. This is all in this HSCA testimony. Is it kind of a post factum thing? It's like, how people do that, right? They'll make up a story, and then they know certain figures and they kind of put them in, to kind of make their, okay.
It's right, give them legitimacy, sure.
Correct. 10 years after the Garrison case.
Right.
But I'm digging into who this Gilbert guy is now, and
starting to pan out like it's actually
it's opening up a lot of strange doors. Like, was that a intelligence house? Was that owned by somebody beyond this fellow?
So like a safe house or something.
Correct. And Ruby was dabbled in art too.
I didn't know that.
He picked up. He went to New Orleans to pick up some art for a philanthropist, Alger Meadows. But more importantly, he did a bunch of prison paintings. And
so he was painting in prison.
Correct. And what's really crazy, William, is I haven't been able to link this just yet, but that house where this Gilbert guy was, who knew Ruby, where supposedly the guy who shot at Walker hung out at this house, it's currently owned by a bunch of art impresarios, like guys who collect art and sell art and that kind of stuff. And it just makes me wonder, when you get into CIA intelligence families, you're getting into families. You're not getting so much into one individual, right? The Paynes, for instance.
Yeah.
Not just
recently passed away, for people.
Yes, yeah, supposedly.
Well, she was 92.
You're right.
So.
Right.
I mean, they could have faked her death these days. Who knows? But
yeah. And for anyone who's read who's followed us talking about the Shroud of Turin, we talked a lot about Shroud families protecting and supporting the Shroud as part of throughout the centuries, and you can't just let one person. You can't trust one person. It's more than that. Oh, hang on.
Got a meltdown. Got some live action meltdown there. Right, but a lot of those wealthy families, they're into art. That's a way to avoid taxes, launder stuff. You can do all kinds of fun things with art. Transfer things, transfer power, overvalue it. You can do all kinds of funny things. So sometimes art is a skilled way to do a lot of stuff, provide gifts, benefits, things like that. You can see that actually with Hunter Biden, people overpaying for his art. I mean, I think people were paying crazy amounts of money for Hunter Biden's art, $500,000, something like that. So whenever you see that kind of art business, and there's other people, shady people doing that. The guy who ran Comet Ping Pong, he was in the art industry, international. So transferring art between borders, it's a way to also transfer things that maybe aren't art or
Exactly.
seen as art, or
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's another way. I mean, if you're talking, if Ruby's involved, it's shady. I mean, he's just shady all the way around. Like, he's just a mob shady guy.
Yeah.
Chicago all the way. Rubenstein and
Yeah, and exactly. And both Gilbert and Rubenstein came from Poland, right around the same time, and so yeah. There's, and I don't want to, but I mean, a Jewish contingent is prevalent. There's no doubt about it. And
I mean, but it wasn't Permindex too, like all this stuff with Shaw and things like that. A lot of Jews involved in that Permindex too, and Bonanno. Like, the giveaway of Permindex is Bonanno. That's maybe another show, but Permindex is really an interesting story because it's shady, like this freaking cleaning business. It's clean towel and linen service.
I'll try. I'll just I have to follow up with what you said. I don't want to say I'm skeptical of Permidex, but I did not want to just jump into believing everything that I was being told about the assassination. This was an assassination bureau of guys who were out there, trying to assassinate world leaders like de Gaulle and JFK. Well, I think you got to figure out what exactly is going on there. It's very hard to do that, but I will say the individuals behind Centro Mondiale Commerciale, the Italian arm of Permindex, is both mob and Zionists.
Right.
No question. There is a letter from Louis Bloomfield, who was part of the Permindex.
I think he was the big head. I think he was the big cheese of Permindex, if I remember, which
was
is a kind of an acronym. It's a portmanteau, I guess, what you call it.
Yeah,
it's permanent indicator.
Industrial.
Yeah,
permanent industrial exposition. On the face of it, it was like it was a trademark. That's where why Clay Shaw was brought on to be part of the board.
But a trademark is a great place. It's basically a place where businessmen with money and stuff could go and hang out and buy stuff, and it's like a little club, but it's also like an influence thing. Like, you want to be part of it because you're with other economic people above board and maybe not above board or something.
It's a perfect front. But I make the point. I try to follow the trail from a lot of Bloomfield, but Bloomfield gave us a lot of names, among them like Mogdalitz's partner, but a lot of Zionists, Dov Biegun, for instance. Anyway, if you look at Israel Bonds, which is the latest article that I had come out on Medium, I break down this letter that Bloomfield sent, and I suggest that the Israel Bonds campaign, which was huge, and a lot of Fort Worth individuals who were connected with Clean Towel were part of this campaign. I suggest that were funds for Israel Bonds diverted to help fund the Dimona nuclear reactor. And I know that sounds like really far-fetched, but look into how, we can't get into it here now, but look into how I present the trail that leads to Tibor Rosenbaum, who Bloomfield was writing to in this letter, who ran in Geneva, who ran the bank that Mayor Lansky used for his funds. And when you realize a lot of these guys were all Haganah, which was, come on, let's face it, William. I mean, this is something I didn't know until I started reading about Clean Towel. It kind of get me a little. I tell you what, man, the JFK whole thing about JFK reconfirmed my kind of Americanism, my patriotism as an American, my appreciation for being part of the United States, which I've always taken for granted. I mean, I love what this country stands for, and I hate how it's been kind of co-opted. But I will say, like, I appreciate but man, the utilizing and of the pilfering of army and war asset material.
It was happening, right? They were taking stuff out of Louisiana and all kinds of things. Right?
Well, yeah, supposedly even the Huma raid, at least as late as 61, was not for Cuba. It's not for Cuba. That's the claim. But even back right at the end of the war, there was this surplus of material, and you're breaking the neutrality acts by funneling this material to another country. Not yet a country. I understand that. It was, it was a group of an organization moving in and picking out another.
The Arab-Israeli wars didn't start in 2023 or whatever. It goes all the way back, even before the foundation of Israel in 48. Pretty ferocious stuff. Pretty precarious times. Whether the state of Israel survives. But I can't believe you mentioned Dimona, because Dimona doesn't exist, James. There's no such thing as a nuclear reactor there.
How
dare you?
Well, then look into NUMEC.
I know NUMEC very well, and Vanunu and Maxwell and all that stuff.
Yeah, and there's uranium.
NUMEC is outside of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh.
That's right. Apollo.
And Angleton let a lot of that stuff happen. There's other bigwigs who, allowed all this stuff to be transferred to Israel, basically.
Yeah, well, they were all part of the Zionist Organization of America, which was the same organization that the Fort Worth guys who are connected with Clean Towel were funneling. And so you got a lot of, when you were doing your Israel Bonds campaign, you would get a lot of speakers coming from Israel. And one of them, there's a picture, in the most recent one of Israel Bonds of the gentleman I'm talking about. And I'll tie this in real quick, with the guy from the Israel Defense Forces, which was the Haganah. They were bringing him around.
Haganah was the early one, right?
That's right.
Haganah, Irgun, and some of these other ones, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Different terrorists, or they don't call themselves terrorists, but there were different paramilitary organizations.
Well, and this is well known, the attorney behind Clean Towel, who had power of attorney over Clean Towel, and who is well known in offices in Beverly Hills as a lawyer with the City National Bank of Beverly Hills. If anyone wants to look into how mobbed up that is, that was the bank that came up with the ransom money for the Sinatra kidnapping. But this guy was one of the few of the Sonneborn group who raised capital or materiel weapons for Haganah.
Right.
Was the attorney of that truck.
Was it Levine? Is that who it was? Or what?
It's Levine.
Levine, yeah.
It's Levine. Yeah. Sid B. Levine.
So it's really incredible. So they're around. Yeah. For me, just that truck, for me, it's it's there for a reason. I don't think it's a mistake. They're there to transport people, guns, who knows? That's probably what they were doing. It's the greatest cover for a delivery of drugs or guns or anything, is a cleaning truck. It's so innocuous. Right. It's a perfect cover. The whole black van type motif is the worst way to do it. Right. Blanked out windows.
Just like a box of books.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, I know we're probably wrapping up, but
we're getting there.
I just got to say, the motive of Dimona, the motive of an Algeria, of an independent Algeria, which JFK was promoting as early as 57. There's documentation that they're worried about, about Jews and Algerian Jews, and what was going to happen under an independent Algeria that didn't want those people in their independent country, right?
Interesting.
And so, when you have a rising senator of Massachusetts advocating for a free Algeria, that's not going to go over well in Tel Aviv. And we know we have all of the letters between him and Ben Gurion in 63 about wanting to get inspectors in, and how Ben Gurion didn't want to have anything to do with that. He resigned in summer of 63, kind of almost as a protest, because Kennedy was kind of saying, look, if you don't let us in, we have to seriously question our commitment to you.
He just stepped on everybody's toe. If there was some powerful person whose toe he could step on, he did it. He didn't everybody was pissed. Military, intel, the Jews. Yeah. Everybody. I don't know who he didn't
Right.
Gosh.
Right. I just, the only one who stepped on more toes was probably his brother,
Right. Exactly. The mob. I left out the mob.
Well, yeah.
So the mob, the Jews, the military industrial complex, the intel people,
Goes on and on.
right wing, because of all the like civil rights stuff. So the hard
Oh yeah,
white
They're all
people
connected.
are like steams coming out of their ears,
Yeah.
like Miltier right there, right in this pic.
Yeah.
James, where can people find your stuff? The people go check out his Medium. I'll put a link
Check
to
out Medium.
James's Medium. You can follow his work, his
That'd be
books.
great.
How many books do you have now?
I'm at 5.
5. Nice, congrats. So Turin, the
Yep.
Knights.
The
You
Mad Bishop,
did one on Michael the Archangel, right?
the Michelangelo, Saint
Michelangelo,
Michelangelo,
that's right.
and Benedict the 16th. Yeah.
Gotcha, cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about, man. It's this all ties in. This JFK ties into Charlie Kirk because so many motifs from JFK are there. This guy Howard Zinn, like there's a Jewish guy who says I did it and is dancing around. Like it's almost like what I showed the video of today of this epileptic guy and the rifle and the patsy and the deflection and who's getting pissed off and the international flavor of this. Like where in human history has an American figure died and then a head of state of a foreign country calls in and says he's sorry and like do that? Like that's so bizarre. I think, you know, like you gotta scratch your head. So anyway, these analyzing JFK, I've heard other commentators and thought leaders, which I don't even know why they're thought leaders, but they say that JFK isn't that important. It's everything, guys. It's everything because there's so many people, things from the underground surfaced in JFK, and people could see them in action. It's like whoa, just like those things I listed before. So anyway, James, any final words? Anything you'd like to add? Anything I missed?
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's great to talk with you again. And people, James Day, DAY, check out his books. Go subscribe to his Medium and follow his work. He does great work. Thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Let's do that.